In a crowded animal shelter, hundreds of dogs barked and wagged their tails, each one hoping for a second chance. But in one corner, a tiny German Shepherd puppy sat silently, tears pooled in his eyes, too broken to beg for love. People passed him by, whispering that he was the saddest dog there. No one believed he would ever be adopted, until one man stopped, knelt down, and took his paw. What happened next stunned the shelter staff, the community, and eventually, the world. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I love seeing how far these stories travel, so tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? The shelter buzzed with noise, dogs barked, tails thumped, and families pointed at the playful ones eager to be chosen. Volunteers hurried past with food and cleaning supplies while children tugged at their parents, begging to take home the energetic puppies pressing against the bars. But in the farthest corner sat a small German Shepherd puppy. He didn't bark, didn't move, didn't even lift his head. His fur was dull, his ears drooped, and his eyes carried a sadness far too heavy for his age. To most visitors, he was invisible, just another unwanted dog no one would take home. Staff quietly called him the saddest one here. He had already been abandoned once, left with wounds no one could see. He didn't play, didn't trust, and seemed to believe no one would ever love him. In that forgotten corner, the little shepherd simply waited, not for adoption, not for affection, just for time to pass, as if he had already given up on the world. That afternoon, a man named Daniel walked into the shelter. He wasn't looking for anything in particular, just browsing, as he often did when he had time off. Daniel had grown up with dogs, and after losing his faithful companion months earlier, he felt a quiet emptiness in his life. Still, he hadn't planned on adopting again so soon. As he moved through the rows, familiar sights greeted him, wagging tails, eager faces, paws pressing against the bars. Each dog seemed desperate for a chance, barking loudly as if to shout, "Pick me, I'll be loyal, I'll love you forever." Families laughed and pointed at the most playful pups, but Daniel's eyes didn't linger there. Something drew him past the noise, past the excitement, toward the farthest corner of the shelter. And then he saw him. The German Shepherd puppy sat motionless, his small paw tucked under his chest, watery eyes staring at the ground. Unlike the others, he didn't move when Daniel approached. He didn't beg for attention or bark in excitement. Instead, he looked up slowly. In that single glance, Daniel felt something shift inside him. The puppy's eyes weren't just sad, they were pleading. They spoke of loneliness, of betrayal, of a silent question no one had answered. Will anyone ever want me? Daniel crouched down, pressing his hand lightly against the bars. To his surprise, the puppy hesitated, then lifted his trembling paw and rested it against Daniel's fingers. Such a small gesture, but the weight behind it was enormous. It wasn't excitement, it was desperation. Surrounded by barking and chaos, Daniel's heart made a decision his mind hadn't yet caught up to. He couldn't walk away. This wasn't just another dog, this was the one who needed him most. Just as Daniel felt the puppy's tiny paw press into his hand, a voice spoke behind him. "You're interested in that one?" Daniel turned to see a middle-aged shelter worker. Her arms were folded, her tired eyes carrying both concern and caution. She had seen countless adoptions over the years, but her expression made it clear, this case was different. "He's been through a lot," she said gently. "Most people don't even stop to look at him anymore. We've had him here for months." Daniel glanced back at the puppy, who hadn't moved. His paw still rested weakly against the bars, as if afraid to let go. "What happened to him?" Daniel asked. The worker sighed. "He was abandoned, left in a box outside the shelter on a freezing night, barely survived. Since then, he doesn't trust easily. Families come by, but he won't play, won't respond. Children get scared when he just stares with those sad eyes. People want happy, playful dogs, not this." Her voice lowered. "We almost thought no one would ever take him." Daniel's chest tightened. He imagined the cold night, the trembling pup left alone, the confusion of being unwanted. His heart broke at the thought. "He doesn't eat well either," she continued. "Sometimes refuses food for days. We've tried everything. He's not aggressive, just shut down. We don't know if he'll ever be normal." Her words hung in the air like a warning, but Daniel wasn't deterred. He knelt lower, meeting the puppy's eyes again. And in that gaze, he didn't see hopelessness. He saw a chance, a fragile, faint spark waiting for someone to believe in it. "I don't care what he's been through," Daniel said firmly. "He deserves a chance." The worker studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. She led Daniel toward the small office at the front of the shelter. The sound of barking dogs faded behind them, replaced by the rustle of paperwork and the faint hum of a ceiling fan. On the desk lay a thin stack of adoption forms waiting to be filled. Daniel sat down, but his thoughts were still back at the corner kennel. He could see the puppy's eyes in his mind, eyes that had stopped him in his tracks. The warnings echoed in his ears. He doesn't trust. He doesn't eat. He's broken. Yet none of it mattered. To Daniel, that tiny paw pressed against his fingers was more powerful than any warning. The worker slid the forms across. "Are you sure?" she asked. "We don't want to see him returned again. It would break what little spirit he has left." Daniel picked up the pen. "I'm sure," he said without hesitation. His signature swept across the page, sealing a promise that went deeper than ink. They were saving each other. One crisp morning, Daniel decided to take the puppy for a longer walk through the park. By now, the shepherd trotted confidently at his side, ears alert and eyes scanning everything with quiet curiosity. Daniel was proud. Every step felt like proof of how far they had come together. When they reached the open field, Daniel unclipped the leash for the first time. His heart pounded with worry, but he wanted to trust the bond they had built. The puppy froze for a moment, sniffing the air. Then, instead of running away, he turned back to Daniel, waiting for a signal. "Go on," Daniel encouraged softly. What happened next left him speechless. The puppy bolted forward, but not aimlessly. He darted across the grass with stunning speed, his movement sharp and precise, as if he had been trained before. Daniel tossed a stick without thinking, and to his surprise, the shepherd sprinted, caught it mid-air, and returned it flawlessly. "Good boy," Daniel exclaimed, clapping his hands. The puppy's tail wagged proudly, his eyes gleaming for the first time with excitement. Again and again, Daniel tested him, rolling balls, tossing sticks, giving simple commands. The little shepherd followed every cue with uncanny accuracy, as though some hidden talent had been waiting for the right moment to shine. But it wasn't just play. Later that afternoon, as they walked back through the neighborhood, the puppy suddenly stopped, his body rigid. He barked sharply, pulling Daniel's attention to a small child wandering too close to the busy road. Without hesitation, the shepherd ran forward, blocking the child's path and barking until the mother rushed over. Daniel's breath caught. This wasn't just instinct, it was protection. Something deep within this once-forgotten pup had awakened. As the mother thanked him tearfully, Daniel looked down at his dog in awe. The saddest puppy in the shelter was revealing himself to be something no one expected, a natural guardian, a protector at heart. It happened again on a quiet evening, just when Daniel thought life was finally settling into a peaceful rhythm. His sister and young nephew had come over for dinner. The house was filled with laughter, clinking dishes, and the smell of roasted chicken. The puppy, now more confident, lay stretched out on the rug, eyes half closed in comfort. But in an instant, the calm shattered. The little boy had been playing near the back door when his ball rolled outside onto the porch. Without anyone noticing, he tugged the door open and slipped through. Beyond the porch lay the street, a street where cars often sped faster than they should. The puppy's ears shot up, his body stiffened, his eyes snapped toward the door. Before Daniel could even register what was happening, the shepherd bolted across the living room, barking with an urgency that shook the walls. Daniel turned just in time to see his nephew darting toward the curb. His heart stopped. "No," he shouted, but the boy was too close to the road. The puppy launched forward faster than anyone could move. In one leap, he barreled into the child, knocking him back onto the grass just as a car screeched past, its tires squealing. The rush of wind whipped across their faces, followed by the fading roar of the engine disappearing into the night. Silence fell. For a moment, no one breathed. Then the boy's mother screamed, rushing outside. Daniel stood frozen, his legs weak. The puppy, panting heavily, positioned himself protectively over the child, his small body trembling but his gaze fierce, as though daring the world to try again. Daniel dropped to his knees, pulling both the boy and the puppy into his arms. His chest heaved. His voice broke. You saved him. You actually saved him. The once forgotten dog, the one no one had wanted, had risked everything without hesitation. That night, there were no more doubts, no more questions. The saddest puppy in the shelter had proven himself to be something greater. A hero. News of the puppy's brave act spread faster than Daniel ever expected. The very next morning, neighbors began stopping by the house, eager to hear the story for themselves. Word traveled from porch to porch, whispered in coffee shops, and echoed in the aisles of the grocery store. Did you hear about the dog who saved a little boy? One woman asked her friend, her voice filled with awe. They say he used to be the saddest pup in the shelter. Imagine that. Soon, people who had once walked past the shepherd without a second glance were now eager to see him. Children pointed excitedly as Daniel walked him through the neighborhood. That's him, they shouted. That's the hero dog. The puppy, once timid and invisible, now walked proudly at Daniel's side, tail wagging with new confidence. The shelter staff heard the news, too. One afternoon, two of the workers who had once cared for him came to visit. They were astonished by what they saw. We never thought he'd come this far, one admitted, crouching to pet him. The shepherd leaned into her hand, no longer afraid of touch. It's like he's a completely different dog. Local reporters soon called, eager to write about the rescue. Daniel hesitated. He never wanted fame, but he knew the story could mean something bigger. It could remind people that even the most broken, overlooked animals had the potential for greatness. When the article finally ran with the headline, "Shelter's Saddest Puppy Becomes a Hero," the response was overwhelming. Letters and emails poured in, many from people who had lost hope with their own rescue pets but now felt inspired to keep trying. This pup had not only saved a child, he had touched hearts everywhere. A week later, Daniel received a phone call from the shelter. The director's voice held both excitement and disbelief. Daniel, someone's come forward, someone who thinks they recognize your dog. Confused, Daniel agreed to meet them. He arrived at the shelter with the shepherd at his side, the pup walking confidently now, though still glancing around with cautious eyes. Waiting for them was an older man in a crisp uniform, a retired police officer. The man's gaze softened the moment he saw the puppy. I know those eyes, he whispered, kneeling. He extended a trembling hand. The shepherd froze, sniffed cautiously, then tilted his head. Recognition flickered in the officer's face. I think this little one comes from a working line. His parents were part of our K9 unit. Daniel blinked. K9 unit? You mean, police dogs? The officer nodded. Brave, intelligent, protective by nature. If what I'm hearing is true, that he saved a child, then it doesn't surprise me at all. It's in his blood. The revelation stunned Daniel. This wasn't just any dog, not just a shelter rescue. He was the descendant of protectors, born with instincts buried beneath fear and sadness, now finally shining through. The saddest puppy, the one no one wanted, turned out to have a lineage of heroes.
If this tale moved you, if you felt the tension, the heartbreak, and the triumph, please support our channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring more thrilling, emotional, and inspiring stories your way. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Do you believe dogs have an extraordinary sixth sense? Share your thoughts and personal stories with us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.